Just grateful. It's there, and you put the work in. It's just when you see it kind of come to fruition, it's always just a bit of disbelief. I knew it was going to be a really fast race, great competition. So just to kind of see it all come together, there's always just a bit of awe and wonder.
The 400-meter final in Tokyo turned into a moment that stunned the world. Sydney, known for dominating the hurdles, stepped into unfamiliar territory and made it look effortless. From the gun, her stride was smooth, controlled, almost unreal. By halfway, the crowd sensed it. This wasn't just another race, it was history unfolding. For many years, Marita Koch's time of 47.60 seemed like a wall nobody could break. People called it untouchable, and it came from a time in track and field filled with questions and controversy. But on September 18th, 2025, Sydney McLaughlin Levrone came closer than anyone before, less than 0.2 of a second away from ending one of the sport's most talked about records.
I think, Bobby believed that at the time was there, and I believed in Bobby and our work. So it really just was a matter of putting the pieces together and running my race. I think it kind of just shows that anything really is possible. You just got to work for it and work really hard.
Her time of 47.78 not only earned her gold at the World Championships, but made her the second fastest woman in history over the distance. The East German shadow may still loom, but Sydney brought the light. But this wasn't just about one race. This was the culmination of years of grit, faith, and one bold career pivot. Because McLaughlin Levrone wasn't supposed to be here, not in this race at least. She built her name as the Queen of the 400-meter hurdles, dominating the event with a world record of 50.37 and 2 Olympic golds. But in 2025, she made a choice that left many doubting. She dropped the hurdles. It wasn't a move made lightly. The hurdles weren't just her event, they were her kingdom. She was the first woman to break the 52-second barrier and then the 51-second barrier, carving her name into history again and again. And yet, after reigning supreme, she asked herself a bold question. What if I could be the best at something else? As it turns out, she could, but not without resistance. When she announced the switch, skeptics questioned her decision. Why leave an event you dominate? Why risk it all? But Sydney had something bigger in mind, as she told reporters.
Prayer, a lot of trusting the process. I know there was a lot of doubt from a lot of people for me making this switch, and I just wanted to show myself I can do it. Ultimately, it was trusting the Lord and trusting the process, and honestly, I'm just really grateful.
The time came in Tokyo. The weather was far from ideal. Rain soaked the national stadium, the wind was erratic, and puddles clung to the track. But McLaughlin Levrone ran with a serenity that defied the chaos. Her form never broke, her poise never wavered. Even when Olympic champion Marilady Paulino surged alongside her from lane 9, Sydney didn't panic. She found another gear. She pulled away. And she crossed the line as the first woman in nearly 4 decades to run under 48 seconds. This wasn't just victory, it was vindication and a warning, because the story doesn't end with a single gold medal. It begins there. McLaughlin Levrone is now teasing something even more audacious. A double, competing in both the 400-meter flat and the 400-meter hurdles at the Olympics, a feat so grueling, so rare, that it's only been considered by legends. Her coach, the legendary Bobby Kersee, is pushing for it. Based in Los Angeles, the host of the 2028 Games, Kersee is already talking to organizers about tweaking the schedule to make room for McLaughlin Levrone's historic bid. It's not unprecedented. Olympic organizers have made exceptions before for icons like Michael Johnson and Allison Felix. Now, Sydney might be next. But the question isn't just, can she do it? It's also, does she want to? Yeah, there's been a lot of talk of doubles, she said. Is it possible is one thing, do I want to do it is another. If she does, it would set the stage for one of the most electrifying Olympic storylines in history. McLaughlin Levrone isn't just competing against the clock anymore, she's challenging the boundaries of what one athlete can achieve in 2 of the sport's most grueling events. Yet, whether she goes for the double or not, her legacy is already secured. She's 26 years old, already a 4-time Olympic gold medalist, a multi-time world champion, and the owner of records that once seemed unreachable. She's the first woman to break 52 seconds, 51 seconds, and now 48 seconds in events once thought to be past human limits. And it all began long before Tokyo. Sydney was born into a family of athletes. Her father, Willie McLaughlin, was a semi-finalist in the 400 meters at the 1984 Olympic trials. Her mother, Mary, ran track on a boys' team because her school didn't have a girls' team. Sydney followed in their footsteps and then sprinted far beyond them. By age 15, she was already world-class, winning gold at the 2015 World Youth Championships in the 400-meter hurdles. A year later, she qualified for the Rio Olympics as the youngest U.S. track athlete since 1980. She didn't make the finals, but the message was clear. The future had arrived. She went on to rewrite records at every level, high school, college, and professional. At the University of Kentucky, she obliterated the collegiate record in the 400-meter hurdles. By 2021, she had a world record and Olympic gold. And in 2022, she became the first woman to ever run under 51 seconds in the hurdles, clocking 50.68 at the World Championships in Eugene. But even with the medals and records, she wasn't done evolving. The 2023 season saw her experiment with flat sprints, clocking 48.74 in the 400 and winning races in the 200 meters against seasoned sprinters. She wasn't just dabbling, she was announcing her arrival. Then came 2024. At the Paris Olympics, she did it again, defending her 400-meter hurdles title with another world record, 50.37 seconds. But it was her flat sprint performances that hinted at something bigger. She ran 48.75 at the New York Grand Prix, then signed on for Michael Johnson's Grand Slam Track League. All signs pointed to the inevitable, a shift from the hurdles to the flat 400. And by the time the 2025 World Championships came around, she wasn't just ready, she was unstoppable. In the semis, she ran 48.29, breaking the U.S. record. Then in the final, she delivered 47.78, the fastest time in 4 decades. A new championship record, and maybe, just maybe, a preview of what's coming next. Because while Koch's 47.60 still sits atop the record books, it no longer feels untouchable. McLaughlin Levrone has made it look mortal, and athletes like Polino and Salwa Eid Nasser, who finished second and third in Tokyo, agree. I think the women's 400-meter world record will be broken very soon, Nasser said. So what's next for Sydney? She's not saying yet, but her smile after the race said plenty. I think it shows that anything really is possible, she told reporters. But I don't have any more words for you guys right now. I'm still trying to process all of it. And really, who could blame her? When you're rewriting the limits of human performance, sometimes silence speaks louder than words. Whether she chases both events in LA or focuses on one, McLaughlin Levrone has already changed the game. The 400-meter is no longer just a sprint, it's a stage, and she's the main act. What she's done isn't just win races, it's made fans believe that records, no matter how old or controversial, are there to be broken. That switching events isn't retreat, it's evolution. And that greatness isn't static, it grows. Even the younger athletes watching her, many of them in middle school or high school, are seeing something brand new. Sydney is showing that success doesn't have to look one way. You can succeed by taking risks. You can lead by being different. That's a message young athletes will carry with them. Sydney McLaughlin Levrone didn't just run a fast time. She redefined the sport. And now every 400-meter runner in the world has a new standard. Her name is etched next to greatness, and she's just getting started.
Gout winding up and winding up. It's Lavelle to Bogo. Gout gets through to fourth. It's 1978.
17-year-old Gout Gout was supposed to be the next big thing in sprinting, but his world championship debut just ended with some harsh criticism that's got everyone talking. On Thursday night in Tokyo, the atmosphere at Japan National Stadium was electric as the men's 200-meter semifinals got underway. Light rain was falling, making the track slippery, but that didn't stop the world's fastest men from putting on a show, and right in the middle of it all was Australia's teenage sensation, Gout Gout, carrying the hopes of an entire nation on his young shoulders. The kid had already made history just by being there. At 17 years old, he became the youngest man ever selected for an Australian World Championships team. That's not just impressive, it's unprecedented. But making the team and competing with the big boys are two very different things, as Gout was about to discover. When the gun fired for the second semifinal, Gout found himself in a loaded heat. Brian Level from Jamaica was there, along with Olympic champion Letsila Tebogo from Botswana. These weren't just fast guys. These were the absolute best in the world. Men who had been doing this at the highest level for years. Coming around the bend, Gout was sitting in 7th place. Not exactly where you want to be in a semifinal, but then something beautiful happened. The same finishing speed that first caught the world's attention kicked in. He powered down the home straight, his long strides eating up the track as he moved past runner after runner. When the dust settled, Gout had finished 4th with a time of 20.36 seconds. In any other context, that would be cause for celebration. But in a World Championship semifinal, it meant one thing. He was going home. To make the final, he needed to run 19.97 seconds or faster. His time left him as the 18th fastest overall and 12th among the non-automatic qualifiers. The math was simple and unforgiving. Only 8 men advanced to the final, and Gout wasn't one of them. But here's where things get interesting, and not in a good way for the young Australian. While Gout was dealing with the disappointment of missing the final, the internet was having a field day. An American sprinter posted a TikTok video that cut straight to the bone, saying, "The next Usain Bolt got brutally destroyed at the World Championships." That's the kind of comment that can stick with a young athlete, especially one who's been carrying the weight of those Usain Bolt comparisons for months now. The hype machine had been in overdrive, calling Gout the next great sprinter, the heir to Bolt's throne. But championships have a way of separating reality from hype. The numbers tell the story. Gout's personal best is 20.02 seconds, which he ran earlier this year in the Czech Republic to set a new Australian record. In Tokyo, he was aiming to break that barrier and become the first Australian to legally run under 20 seconds. He'd actually done it before, running 19.84 at the Australian Championships in April, but that time came with illegal wind assistance, so it doesn't count in the record books. Meanwhile, the men who did make the final were operating on a completely different level. Noah Lyles, the defending champion, absolutely scorched the track in the third semifinal. His time of 19.51 seconds wasn't just fast, it was the fastest time run by anyone in the world this year. After crossing the line, Lyles was pumped up and ready to send a message. He told reporters, "I surprised myself. I kind of backed up a little bit as we got to the last 20 meters, but I'm going to put on a whole race in the final. When I got up after the first 50 meters, I thought I heard Jarnell Hughes running along, and I said to myself, 'You ain't catching me.' The message today was that they can't beat me." That's the confidence of a champion, the mindset of someone who's been there and done that. It's also exactly what Gout is up against. Not just fast times, but experienced competitors who know how to handle the pressure and deliver when it matters most. But here's what's really remarkable about this whole situation. Instead of being crushed by the disappointment or defensive about the criticism, Gout handled it with a maturity that's rare for someone his age. Right after his race, he walked around to every single competitor in his heat and shook their hands. Class act. When the cameras found him for interviews, his attitude was nothing short of inspiring. "Semi-finalists and got to compete against the big guys. Couldn't be prouder of myself for sure," he said with a smile that seemed completely genuine. "Obviously, I was aiming for that sub-20, but today wasn't the day. God didn't allow it today, but I know for sure in the future it's going to be coming." The kid gets it. He understands something that a lot of critics seem to miss. He's 17 years old. He won't even turn 18 until December 29th. While other teenagers are worried about prom and college applications, he's racing against the fastest men on the planet and holding his own. Speaking of perspective, let's talk about Usain Bolt for a minute. You know, the guy everyone keeps comparing Gout to? When Bolt made his World Championship debut in Helsinki in 2005, he ran 20.68 seconds in the semifinals and finished 4th. That's significantly slower than Gout's 20.36. Bolt was also nearly 19 years old at the time, making him almost 2 years older than Gout is now. At the 2004 Olympics, Bolt's first major championship, he didn't even make it to the semifinals. Yet somehow, people expected Gout to waltz into Tokyo and immediately start breaking records. The expectations were completely unrealistic from the start. Even Noah Lyles, who just ran the fastest time in the world this year, sees something special in the young Australian. After his own semifinal, Lyles took time to praise Gout, saying,
What do you make of him as a 17-year-old?
I mean, more talented than I was. I mean, there's been nothing but great talent coming up. He's an amazing kid. You got a great head on him. You got a great team around him.
But Lyles also dropped some truth about what Gout is facing as he transitions from high school phenom to professional athlete.
It's going to be interesting to see how he develops. The thing that I always look for when I'm looking at younger talent is, hey, are you just going to be able to train into shape, one? Because when you're in high school, you're able to just get like races all the time whenever you want. But as a pro, you got to race,
That's the real challenge facing Gout now. In high school, he could show up to meets and run fast times almost at will. The competition was limited, the pressure was manageable, and races were frequent. But at the professional level, especially at world championships, every detail matters. Every tenth of a second counts. There's no room for learning on the job. The physical demands are different too. Lyles mentioned seeing how Gout develops in the weight room over time, naturally, not all at once. Right now, Gout has the build of a teenager, tall and lean, but not yet filled out with the muscle mass that comes with years of professional training. That development takes time, and it can't be rushed without risking injury. What makes this situation even more challenging for Gout is that he's not the only young Australian who struggled in Tokyo. Tori Lewis, just 20 years old herself, also finished fourth in her 200-meter semifinal. Like Gout, she was one of the youngest in her field. And like him, she fell just short of making the final. The pattern is clear. Youth and talent alone aren't enough at this level. Experience matters. Knowing how to handle the pressure, how to peak at exactly the right moment, how to execute under the brightest lights. These are skills that take years to develop. But Gout seems to understand this better than most. When asked about his biggest takeaway from Tokyo, he said,
"Continue forward the path."
What's been the biggest eye-opener for you?
I think the biggest eye-opener is knowing that I can compete at the young age I am against the against the best men in the world. So that's been definitely the biggest eye-opener for me, and just knowing that I can actually go out there, run my heart out, and still place against them.
Then he said something that shows just how mature his thinking really is.
Them is I got time. They may not have 15 years, but I got 15 years for sure. So I know that I can keep running, and I know that if I can do this at 17, I can do this at 25 as well, and I'll be even better at 25. So
15 years. That's longer than some professional careers. While critics are writing him off after one semifinal, Gout is thinking about the long game. He's thinking about multiple Olympics, multiple world championships, and the kind of sustained excellence that actually defines legendary careers.
All side by side with 60 meters to go. They're still side by side with 50. Lyles trying to find something. He stretches away. It is.
Noah Lyles just did something that seemed impossible for over a decade. He matched Usain Bolt's legendary record of 4 straight World Championship 200-meter gold medals and then immediately promised to destroy it.
Of course.
Number 4, baby!
On Friday night in Tokyo, Lyles crossed the finish line in 19.52 seconds, holding up 4 fingers to a roaring crowd of nearly 59,000 people. The same stadium where he struggled just 4 years ago during the COVID Olympics had now become the place where he made history. But Lyles wasn't satisfied with just matching the great Jamaican's record. "I can't wait for 2027 to become the only man to win 5 200-meter titles," Lyles declared right after his victory. Those words sent shockwaves through the athletics world. The man who many consider the current king of sprinting had just declared war on Bolt's legacy. Let's break down exactly what happened in this incredible race and why it matters so much for the future of sprinting. The race itself was a masterclass in tactical running from Lyles. Running from lane 6, he faced a stacked field that included 5 of the 8 finalists from last year's Olympics. His biggest threat came from his own teammate Kenny Bednarek in lane 8, a man who has finished second to Lyles more times than he probably cares to remember. From the start, it looked like it might be Bednarek's night. The American was leading at 50 meters, 40 meters, 30 meters, 20 meters, and even at 10 meters to go. Young Jamaican Brian Lavelle had actually taken the early lead off the curve, splitting the first 100 meters in 10.03 seconds. But anyone who's watched Lyles race knows that's exactly when he becomes most dangerous. "I studied my competitors," Lyles said after the race. "I knew their momentum was going to slow up once we got closer to 150 meters, but mine was going to build up after I hit that mark. Being patient was the most important thing.